I call this meeting of the MSAD 49 Board of School Directors to order. Roll call. Booton. Here. Boyden. Here. Brown-Woods. Here. Calvary. Davis Folsom. Here. Dumont. Here. Hashi. Here. Hussey. Here. Kinley.
Here.
Knowles.
Here.
Lambert. Here. White.
Here.
And Williams. The Pledge of Allegiance. Approval of minutes. Is there a motion to accept the minutes of the March 18th, 2021 board meeting? Has been moved by Rachel and seconded by Roy to accept the minutes of the March 18th, 2021 board meeting. Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor? 13. 0, 0. Citizens input. All right. Seeing none. Moving on to old business. School construction project update.
Thank you. I just wanted to let the board know, and I had mentioned it in the email I recently sent, that Scott Washburn and I met with Scott Brown and his team at the DOE along with our CHA architects, talking about the recent board direction to our building committee and our next steps. And as we've talked about, that next phase in the process would be the education specifications process. And also that will run concurrently with site selection. So we walked through prospectively what those steps might include. CHA has provided me with an ad. We're going to run an ad in the paper, and what that ad might include to express the district interest in acquiring a parcel of property that's in the range of probably 25 to 30 acres. As we look at some options, the firm's civil engineer is going to be involved in looking at speculating out what those properties are out there in that acreage that might be suitable, and exploring that. But for the understanding that site selection is one that will have to be approved through a straw poll in a community form event, very similar to our budget meeting process that's usually held right here in this gym. And that is required by the department. So I'm going to look to run that ad probably next week as soon as I'm able to. And again, it lays out the minimum acreage, and that the site would ideally be rectangular in size, free of excessively steep slopes or gullies, readily accessible for good or existing road or street system. The site should be served by or approximately near utilities like water, sewer, and three-phase power. There is another component also, and it would be the vernal pool study, depending on what type of property or anyone who comes forth willing and interested to sell property to the school district. You know, for example, when CHA did their feasibility study, they looked at the one parcel of land, the 20 acres that the district owns, back here. And of course, that's, if you've been down there, in that area, it's wet. So they were able to complete a vernal pool study, and the window, I think, is May, that they would look to do that. And some sites would not require that. So we're going to explore that piece of it. And our building committee is going to meet again on the 12th of this month and talk about assembling an ed specifications committee. And of course, the board would approve that group, and they will begin, the firm will begin by interviewing some of our constituents, and that's the word used in the ed specs process. In the DOE, on the DOE major capital improvement site, there are some planning documents there available for anyone to look at. But the ed specs, the site selection are pieces laid out very stringently by the department, as the department will essentially fund a large part of the project. And comprised of the project is the purchase of the property. So it was a positive meeting. I think the committee and the community have been provided with some feedback where we are in the process, but in this next phase, it will really move us toward a vision of what we want that to be. One of the things that we talked about as we look at consolidation project options is what the range of grades that potentially a building would house. And looking at our existing facility, our elementary school that's not on the list, how might that be incorporated or play into the project? So there are many options available to us, and certainly the department wants us to explore all of them. But I just wanted you to be aware that Benton School will factor in some way to what we are going to provide in a consolidated effort. Are there any questions? Thank you.
Thank you, Roberta. Facility maintenance update.
So Scott is here to talk about what we are hoping to do with the funds that we've received. And as I said in the email, this third allocation of ESSER 3 is quite a significant amount of money. It's $6.3 million. We had just recently, I think the last time we met, I had filed the ESSER 2, and that's in the range of $2.8 million. We just received approval yesterday for what we submitted. All our projects were approved. And looking ahead to where some of those projects might better fit, the piece that I mentioned in regard to the ESSER 3 is that there is a 20% set aside of funds very specifically for the use to address learning loss and some other supports for students, social, emotional, as well as academic needs. And there are some projects in the ESSER 2 that were built in to support that. So we're looking at about $1.2 million that will be dedicated to those support pieces. Today, Scott and I met with Siemens and their team and went through the facility again at this complex. Part of the ESSER 2 project list included about half, it's $1.5 million dedicated to the initial phase of what Siemens is going to do to upgrade the mechanical system here and what we're going to do for Benton. And again, as a reminder, these are the only schools in our district that have any mechanical ventilation at all. So it was a helpful walkthrough. We're looking at a timeline because this will be a major project. Siemens has told us and committed that they are available to us to begin the first phase this summer, which will render this building inaccessible for a period of time, and the engineer was very clear to me and the project manager that it's dangerous work, and that we absolutely can't have any flow. So the building will be inaccessible for a period of time, probably the bulk of the summer. Just so that's out there. But the possibility of what they can do to improve not just ventilation, air quality, but some heating efficiencies is exciting. So Scott's going to talk a little bit about the details and some of the other projects that we've done in planning to upgrade, do capital improvement in the places that we're going to own and live in for a while.
Good evening. First, I want to pass this around, and I'll explain a little bit as we get going. So yes, this summer, not just with the Siemens project, but with all the ones I'm going to talk about, it's going to be a very, very busy summer. One of the projects we're looking to do is another section of windows at the high school. Another 60. We've already completed 90 windows with some of the previous funding. We're looking at doing another 60. We also have some exterior door replacements at the Annex building and at Benton Elementary, the two main entrances over to Benton. We plan on doing a large amount of carpet removal and installing some VCT tile. We also will be working on a school-based health center at the high school. That is going to be quite the intense project there. It's going to involve multiple subcontractors. We will have to jackhammer the floor up to tie some plumbing into the nurses' station. We also are looking at doing replacing some heat recovery wheels at Benton Elementary. There's 3 big heat recovery wheels at that school. In 2013, one was replaced. The other 2 are pretty much at the end of their life. So it's a pretty good sized project. Along with that is dampers that you've got 3 big dampers that tie in with those wheels that are starting to malfunction and not close properly, which could become a serious problem during the winter months. We are also looking at possibly doing some paving here at the complex. That could be a large project. And the big project is the Siemens project, which we've got blocked out into 2 phases. The first phase is approximately, like Roberta said, around the 1.5 million for that first phase, initial phase. They do think they can, get that done this summer for us. So, and then the second phase is an even bigger project financially, but that's where we're looking at converting from steam to hot water. And that pipe that you have going around is a condensate line, and as you can see where it goes into the ground, how thin and corroded and deteriorated that's pretty much what we have under the concrete and the dirt in this facility. So that's just really a problem waiting to happen. So converting to hot water would basically eliminate those condensate lines in the ground. So this is a big project, but it's a project that is going to help this facility for years to come, not just right now. And it's a project that's very necessary. It should, down the road, we should see some reduction in maintenance costs, and that's the goal through all of this. Any questions?
learning recovery plans for high school and adult education.
Thank you, Danielle. First, I'd like to thank Dan for being here and also introduce Adam Sikora, who is our newly hired adult education director, to you. And we have been working district-wide on our learning recovery plan as we're required to do, and to get our heads around how can we support students moving forward, acknowledging that there will be some gaps in learning, and children are affected in a whole host of ways due to the environment and due to the hybrid model that we've instituted here, and those who have chosen or not able to return to us who have been in a wholly remote environment. So I have asked building principals to work out plans for the different levels. And tonight we're going to hear from secondary, which is more readily discernible in the need because we're looking at credits or loss of credits, or a student who is behind and not on pace to graduate. And I believe Dan and his staff are looking to kind of triage this situation, and the most immediate need would be seniors, of course. But I'd ask Dan and Adam to work together on how we can provide a resource for those students most immediately. And just for an awareness of adult education and the role of adult education on this campus has been vital to allowing high schoolers who were still enrolled in school, not students who were withdrawn for various reasons, but those who were still enrolled with an opportunity to recover credit. And there are a variety of reasons why students fall behind, and this environment has kind of magnified some of them or created new reasons. But as a reminder that a few budget cycles back, we had cut alternative education from a program here offered at Lawrence, and that was a pathway that was utilized by a number of students that no longer is available to them. So thank you to this team of trying to get their heads around this early phase, and I'll hand this mic to you and share your plan.
Hi everyone, my name is Adam Sikora. I'm the director for the Adult Ed program. So we do a lot of things over there. One of the most important things we do is we have a credit recovery program for the seniors who are falling behind in credits. Typically the students that we serve need one or more credits in order to graduate. The Adult Education program offers several avenues of obtaining credits. Currently, our Adult Education program offers 6 recovery classes. So currently we have 2 part-time instructors and 2 full-time instructors to help us with this. The classes we have are effective writing and American studies, and these are English classes for English credits. We offer a science and the media class, which is a basic science class for a science credit. We also have U.S. History 1 and U.S. History 2 in the fall and spring semester. We offer flexibility with Odysseyware. It's an online curriculum used by schools and homeschool families. Odysseyware can be accessed from home. In addition to that, the online coursework, we hold open labs for students who wish to work with our instructors face-to-face. Odysseyware offers a wide variety of curriculum, including math, science, reading, writing, and history. So, combined with the classes we offer and Odysseyware, we cover all the bases for the students to earn all the credits they need. So I went back a few years and just gathered some numbers showing how many students we've helped over the years. In 2018, we had 14 students who were enrolled, and 11 out of the 14 students earned at least one credit. In 2019, we had 23 students enrolled, and all 23 students obtained a credit with us. And 6 of the 23 students earned 2 credits. In 2020, we had 27 students who were enrolled. 21 out of the 27 students earned 1 credit. 6 of them earned 2, and 3 of them earned 2 credits or more. This year, so far, we have 4 students who have earned credits already, and we have 14 more working on credits right now. Let's see. So far, since 2018, we have issued 73 credits and helped 39 students graduate from high school. Although these numbers show a high rate of success, I would like to try to close that gap between students who enroll and actually finish. With that said, the last year has been a struggle for many students due to the pandemic, and having to adjust to the hybrid learning model was pretty tough. So I anticipate that we will continue to see an increase in credit recovery students for multiple years to come. Our goal at Lawrence Adult Education is to help all students succeed and to aid in dropout prevention. My personal goal is to work closely with Dan and the guidance department to help at-risk students complete their high school credits. Any questions about the program? What we do?
Thanks. The guidance department works seamlessly with adult ed and Cora and getting our students who are in jeopardy or falling behind hooked up because they start right in the beginning of the year. And the numbers that I pulled that Gretchen gave me was that we've had 4 successful completions already with 17 students in it, 13 active in the 23 total classes. English being the biggest one in need for the students, followed by social studies, 13 or 14 taking English, and a couple math, the rest, 1 science, and then the rest, 6 were the social studies aspect or piece. And without the alt-ed piece in the school, that's a big alt-ed piece for us, and we will register students, get them over there for 1 class, and might need 2. If things snowball in the semester, they might need 3. And with the Odyssey Air program, it's doable if they really can put their nose to the grindstone. And some, we do have success. Some really can't do it in that amount of time, but they'll take their time over the summer and whatnot and complete or finish up. The Odyssey Ware program, I think the new version of it is at Mentum, and I think that's one thing that we were looking at trying to get with ESSER funding to use at the high school. And it would be, if we were to get it, it would be licensed 6 through 12, unlimited, because now we have, what, two licenses, and we can get a number of kids on it, but not all at the same time. And that's just another online piece. It's like the old Play-Doh, if you knew anything about that, where they could go on and go at their own pace. So that's the adult ed. It's highly successful for us and for the kids who take advantage of it. With the learning plan for the high school, looking ahead, we're talking about some immediate things that we can get in place are the extended day program and then the extended year or summer school program. What we're looking at for the extended day is this spring, probably, it wouldn't be until May, looking at having the afternoon from 1:30 to 3 with core content teachers. If we could get 8 people, that'd be great to 2 from each content area to be available for students who need to make up credit. Some of the kids have failed by a couple points, and it's, might be 1 assignment or, maybe 1 paper or something. Others, we've backed off the failure grade. It used to be a 55. In order to regain credit, we backed that down to a 50. And we were talking with the department heads last week that it might be better to have the departments sit and just identify some necessary standards that these kids need to be able to know and do in order to get the credit. We're doing pass-fail. We don't need somebody's big stack of assignments that were completed. We just need to have the kids have, 5 things or whatever that they need to be able to do, show proficiency in, and then move on. So we're still working on solidifying that plan as far as what it is that they'll need to be able to do and show. But we're going to start that and run that for 6 weeks, May through the end of the school year. And then we'll just transition right into summer school, hopefully, unless we have to set up tents out back or something if we're out of the building. But same thing with summer school. We're looking at pass-fail, we're looking at recovering credits, we're prioritizing and getting seniors in. We'll be running failure lists once the third quarter closes Friday, and we'll be targeting kids, and the guidance counselors know who their seniors are, that they really need to get into these things. But it will also benefit the underclassmen who want to take advantage of it. We're looking at being able to bus them home after 3 o'clock. So we wouldn't be able to bus them in other than the cohort group on that day. So, if it's a blue day, blue kids are there, they can stay later and then get bused home and not have to say, no, I can't stay because I don't have a ride home. Summertime, we'll be looking at 4 days a week, Monday through Thursday, and probably going, I put it 3 weeks, it could be 4 weeks, in July. And in May, if we go 4 weeks, we'll run into August, but we wouldn't start that first week of July. With the summer school, we have teachers develop personalized learning plans for what it is the students need to be able to do. But we'd also, like I said, have the standards, the minimum required standards that kids would need to be able to earn that passing grade and then get that credit and then move on. Next year, we talked about the 5th block. That's going to benefit in the short term the kids who are behind because they'll have an extra class to try and recruit. So the freshmen and sophomores from this year should be able to recover some credits that way by repeating classes, but also not get behind in their graduate scale to get up to the required graduation credits they'll need. Some new courses, we've put in some new courses, tried to take away some long-standing rules, prerequisites. That seems to be a thing that's very popular here. When the new courses come up, they tend to target upperclassmen. So we're trying to whittle away and allow the younger kids to get into some other classes rather than pigeonholed. We've got some new courses coming in: sociology, another PE health. One is fundamentals of coaching, and those 2 are quarter classes. A strength and conditioning, which is a quarter class. Physical management is a quarter class. We've got novice French and Spanish. That was proposed. We've got that right now. Irish was a new class we had added last year. A new one for freshmen, but we're going to allow upperclassmen or sophomores and juniors if they'd like to take it. But freshmen get the priority. Is a STEM class, Intro to STEM, that Jason Bowman is going to teach. And that coincides with an AP computer science class, which is coding, that Bethany Grenner is going to teach. And last year, for the board members who were here, Jason came in and gave a presentation on that coding piece because he had 2 kids that were doing it. They were kind of piloting it. So we've got those 2, which the intent from Jason and Bethany is that STEM class, which will be an introduction to the STEM, science, technology, engineering, and math, and would receive a science elective credit just because Jason's teaching it. If it stretches out to a math person doing it, then we can give them an elective math credit. But the idea is to get the freshmen hooked young and then move them into the AP, computer science. And then Jason's talking about developing a capstone project for the senior year for students, you know, whether it's an app they're developing or something that will benefit the school or the community. So that's in the planning stages for the year after next. Also, we've got a library science studies elective, which will be a quarter class, and Corey Kemp, our new librarian, will teach that, which is good because she's done a lot of great things with the library, making it more comfortable to be in there. It's not quite so stuffy. Not that it wasn't bad, you see the guitar and the music going, but she's got some other furniture coming in. She's got a green screen that she can use for, you know, like the weathermen, they can change the background settings for videos and whatnot, presentations. She wants to get in podcast equipment. And then our new e-test we started using this year as part of our plan at the beginning of the school year. So we've been administering that. The state has gone to that for the third-year test for juniors, which we'll be administering in May, the second week in May. We haven't identified the time yet, but I'll be sending a communique out. And with that Admentum program that I talked about, that was called Odyssey, but the online piece, the good thing about that is it ties in and uses NUIA data, and then it can tailor coursework for the students who we need to get in for credit recovery or who we need to fill in gaps for. So that would be good. For social emotional piece, you know, we will be thinking about and working on how we're going to reintegrate the students, because hopefully we'll all be coming back in person. If not, at the beginning of the year, I would imagine we'll be transitioning into it. So I think an important piece for us is to get everybody back in and how we will, you know, what the expected behaviors are without being a rule monger and just listing down a bunch of stuff. The kids ought to be able to come in and work with us and help develop the expectations that they want to see the school run and live by. You know, we use our student month assemblies this year, but we haven't had a chance to pull assemblies together for the kids. And next year, I think during the first couple of weeks of school, Brian and I were talking about holding class meetings for each class each week, just to help with that. Also, we've got the school-based health center that will be coming in. We've got the Gear Up program that's going to start out with the 7th and 8th grade and follow them up through graduation. But also, they come in and help with the juniors. And we're looking at partnering with NAMI Maine for the social emotional support, suicide prevention, but also just positive peer interactions. And I think that's it as far as my notes go, but it's this past year and a half has had a big impact, and a negative one that you all know, on the kids, especially those who went remote. And some of those who went remote have totally gone off the reservation and are remote, not even checking in and doing work. So we will have some catching up to do with these kids. The others who have come in person and been part of cohorts, they've struggled. It hasn't been fun, but they will be successful and move on. I think the biggest thing for us is that hopefully we're all back in person next year and just able to recover credit. And the extended day program should help with that. Someone should. And then how we're going to use the study halls next year. I want to try and use those as more like learning centers. So if we've got 2 study halls going on and one's math and somebody else is English, we can let the kids sign up and go wherever just to get the help they need. Any questions?
You were talking about the students that faded, have been apart from the school, recognizing that probably Lawrence High School is one of its most famous graduates is the North Pond Hermit. How do you propose bringing these students back into society, in effect?
Yeah, well, that's what I'm hoping that our partnering with NANDA will help out with them, because they're looking to use peer groups and whatnot, but also that's what I want to discuss with the staff on how we're going to rebuild the school culture at the beginning of next year when we have everybody back, and it's going to be, it's going to be an exciting time, but it's going to be a little crazy. The reason some of these kids went remote was because they do not like the school environment and atmosphere. So we need to be able to recognize and make the school welcoming for everyone. So that's the million-dollar question.
Thank you, Dan. I'm delighted that you're grabbing hold of the problem, and I wish you and everybody else in the high school good luck on that.
Thanks.
I just wanted to say thank you to both of you for working extra hard, and I know that you are reaching out to every range of whether they'd like to be here or not, and I would just say thank you for working that hard.
Yeah, thank you. The staff is good. I mean, there's great conversations that go on. At the last meeting, they had a meeting and they were talking about stuff. I got a little offended because I wasn't invited, so I let them know that. It's just one of those things. My message was that this problem is not just a teacher problem or an administrative problem. We've got to figure this out with everybody. The one thing where I haven't felt comfortable with this year is the parent contact with the meetings that were being held.
You tried very hard.
Yeah, I bailed after the Zoom meeting got whatever the hell they call it, hijacked. But we've got to be able to bring parents in somehow, and I know at this age it's difficult too, because they finally can take a step back and let the kids, try and succeed if they're on their own. But this year's been a little, they're going to be surprised. I'm sure they had that all along with the report cards, but yeah. Any other questions?
Thank you again, both of you. You both have put in a lot of work.
I'm still going.
Thank you to Dan and to Adam, and absolutely agree that Dan and his staff are working very hard at this challenge before us, and the number of students in Carroll, I guess academically, credit-wise, is important to know. And when we met with administrators on Tuesday morning, we talked about digging in and looking at remote students. About a third of the high school students are remote. And for a variety of reasons, and at the onset of this, we ill-defined a reason that is allowable. We were permissive with it for whatever worked for families. It has not been, as I said previously, irrevocable. In fact, our administrators and our teachers work very hard to coax students back into in-person in this hybrid because we believe they do better even if it's a limited amount of time with us. There is probably a percent of that population that does perform better in a virtual environment. And, the fact that the state has virtual charters and they are enrolling students speaks to that point and that need.
We are looking at performance over time for remote students. And some students, in spite of us, in spite of anything that we lay out in context, will be successful. But as we said, there are a variety of reasons why students withdrew from us and retreated. And I'm thinking of older students because that might be a student's personal choice and maybe not necessarily a parent's, as you would with a second grader, you know, a 9-year-old. So Stu makes a great point. What are our next steps when we come back together, whenever that might be? The department has not revised the framework. Again, I was at another meeting today, but I think the department is fully understanding that school districts are needing to make those plans, and we don't know what that is. I have used the phrase with the distancing and for the foreseeable future, the 3 feet will remain, and that has been our challenge. And I heard from the department, I've heard from the CDC very specifically about that, as has any other superintendent heard that. But we know that the sooner we can get them back in person, the better off we'll be. So we don't know what that framework's going to look like right now. We don't know if remote option, that option was a requirement in the framework, and we don't know if that is still going to be part of that. My suspicion is yes for next year, but we don't know that yet. So again, credit to Dan and his team for working through whatever that scenario is. And your next order of business in the readings of these revised policies relate to the bump up in credits. And you know, it's high time, I think, that the high school looked at that 4x4. You know, that's been about 20 years in place, and trying to expand our program of studies. And I go back, that was your comment, and I keep, but we're getting there, and we can certainly send you that list of what Dan read aloud and share the statistics that both of them shared with you. But the program of studies is published online, and I assume that these courses will be reflected in it. You do have an 8th grade parent night coming up for the incoming 9th graders. So when's that?
Wednesday, the 7th. So we are going to go, I put the all-call out last night, and we're going in the auditorium, because with the spacing, the distancing, we're still within the guidelines of the state now to bring those parents in. Normally, you'd be lucky to get half the class, which would be great. If we got more, we've got an 857-seat auditorium, so we'll be able to fit a class of 120 or whatever with parents. But we'll be presenting that next week. The program of studies, I just gave the final okay, so that'll get posted and sent out to them. We'll run topic for the class of 2025, and we'll have it electronically for everybody else. And the teachers put together, or the department has put together videos to explain new courses. We've got one for the freshmen, we've got one for the others, we've got separate sign-ups, so we're a little bit behind just because of the work we were doing with this, but we should be fine.
And again, in looking at how we're utilizing our resource, and that would be our staff, that moving to the 5x5, we get another section of something. And I believe that in generating this list of offerings, you had solicited student input and interest, you know, and surveyed them. And that would be important to know. One of the things that this is forced to the forefront of conversation, and rightly so, and it's a good thing, is that the programming is for the students. They are our consumers in our families, and meeting their needs. And there are a variety of academic programming is one thing among the many things that serve. And again, credit to the staff at the high school trying to bring student voice into that conversation is very important, and I think you're well on your way. So thank you for that.
Thank you. I just want to take a second for the newer board members. So for a school board to pass policy, it has to go through 2 readings. So this is why this is called the first reading. For the policy to truly change, it will go through a second reading and a second vote. Is there a motion to approve policy IKF, graduation requirements, as presented by the policy committee?
Second.
It's been moved by Beth and seconded by Stu to approve policy IKF, graduation requirements, as presented by the policy committee. Any discussion? Can we have a brief summary of changes for IKF?
Yeah, I was just mentioning, so graduation requirements, policy IKF, so with the addition of the 5th block, with the addition of the 5th block and the now added number of opportunities kids can take for classes, it goes up. So it would go up, I think, to 32 or something, but 30 is the credits that we want the incoming class of 2025 to have to graduate. And that's well within reach for them. The one error that I caught, I tried getting all the language, the credits in place of units in on number 2. In the parentheses, it says 2 units must be U.S. history and a half unit personal finance. If somebody could, if you guys could change the units to credits just so it's consistent. And so in order to get to the 30, we did increase some requirements. We already had 4 credits in English. We really already had 4 credits in social studies with what everybody's been taking, but we just increased that to get the language current. Same thing, math units were already increased to 4. Science, we're increasing. And we just changed the 1 year of laboratory science to 1 credit. Increased the fine arts, a half credit. The electives now will be 11 to get to your 30. No change with the health and PE. But also, all students must enroll each semester in at least 4 courses. They don't have to be full credit courses. They could be a half credit, 1 quarter, and another quarter. But in order to be a full-time student, you should take 4 out of 5. And then we kept the language the same for, the current one is they must take 3 out of 4. And if they only take 3, they have to pass all 3 to be academically eligible for athletics. So we just kept it. If they take only 4, they need to pass all 4. If they take 5, then they could fail one. But I think I changed that language just to, and it may not be in this one, it may be in the other. Yeah, it is. And just so the kids would know, I'll say that it goes with another one. I'll just sit here and wait for you to get.
Okay. Thank you. Go ahead, Steve.
When the board passes policy IKF, how will our graduation requirements compare with other main schools?
We'll be in line with some, and then others are still at 23 and 24. So I was at Messalonsky when they moved up to 30. So I knew we initially input the 32 credits, and that was a little bit too high to get everybody up there. So we backed off and went to 30. They have a requirement for volunteering, which this year and last year they waived just because of COVID. But we'll be on par with everyone.
I think this is good. My hope would be, as a result of this change, that Lawrence High School will be considered a very credible educational institution.
So, any other questions? All those in favor?
Did you change?
Hang on,
Oh, sorry, yeah, sorry.
So, could I amend my motion to, update for 2 units to be credits? And then,
Okay. It has been,
I accept that as a friendly amendment, or
okay, so,
I can withdraw.
no, it's okay. I think we'll be okay if, the motion will be to approve policy IKF with the edit of units to credits for the graduation requirements as presented by the policy committee. All right. So, any discussion on that motion? Seeing none. All those in favor? 13, 0, 0. Is there a motion to approve policy IKE, promotion and retention of students, as presented by the policy committee? Thank you. It's been moved by Beth and seconded by Jenny to approve policy IKE, promotion and retention of students as presented by the policy committee. All right. Dan, I think you're up for a brief summary.
Okay. So no change on page 1. It gets down to the high school in letter D, and hopefully the chart made it a little bit more user-friendly, or at least legible. The high school grade level assignment is based on their entry into high school, their cohort year. It's not based on credits earned. Once they're in, we need to follow that cohort through, and then you get into graduation rates, dropout rates. So we need to know who a 5th-year senior is versus a 4-year cohort person. To be considered on pace to graduate, we're on page 2 under letter D. A student should earn the following credits based upon their cohort class. So on top, credits need to be considered on pace entering that school year, and then down the left margin, if you are looking at under cohort class, entering your sophomore year, you should have 6 credits next year, which will be no change. Then if I both face the boxes, follow that sophomore class, entering their junior year under 2022-23, they should have 12 credits under their belt. Or, within 1 or below or 1 above, they'll be good. Same thing, follow that sophomore class down to their senior year in 23-24. They should have 22 credits, and then they'll only need 5 to get to their 27 to graduate. So that's how that chart reads. The incoming freshman class, all the way over to the right, the class of 2024, 25, class of 25, they're the ones that we need all 30. So we gradually increase the juniors this year will not have any credit change. They'll graduate with 23. Our current sophomores will need 25. Our current freshmen will need 27. And then the incoming 8th graders will need 30. That's what I was trying to show with that chart. So hopefully it makes sense. And we, in the program of studies, included a pacing guide that kind of lists out where you're picking up those extra credits for the sophomores and the freshmen.
Thank Thank you. Does anyone have any questions for Dan? If not, is there any discussion on this motion? Seeing none. All those in favor? 13. Is there a motion to approve policy IGDK, eligibility for athletic co-curricular activities, as presented by the policy committee?
Second.
Been moved by Jenny, seconded by Beth, to approve policy IGDK, eligibility for athletic co-curricular activities.
This is an MPA, Maine Principals Association, who governs our interscholastic athletics as well as our local policy. In order to participate, you must be considered a full-time student, so we're just changing the full-time status to taking 4 classes.
Is there any, yeah, go ahead.
Will this policy be in effect for spring sports this year?
This year, it's already in effect, yeah. The only thing that changed on this was the 4,
Right.
and that won't be going into effect until next year with the 5 block schedule.
I guess I would ask if we should include an effective date for that course requirement.
Oh, yep.
We still have to have a second reading, right?
Yeah.
Yes, before it would actually, and it would not be in effect right now because we don't currently offer the 5x5 that accommodates this opportunity to earn credits this case, so. Although,
We could put in there effective 21, 22 school year, or
Can we go on with the first reading motion? Would that be it?
you asking me?
No, I was looking at Roberta, but I can listen to Jenny.
Can I amend it, my motion, to include an effective date, the fall of 2022?
2021, 22 school year.
2021.
I'll second that.
So it has been moved by Jenny and seconded by Terry to approve policy IGDK, eligibility for athletic co-curricular activities, to also include an effective date. I missed the actual date.
Fall of 2021.
Fall of 2021, as presented by the policy committee. Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor? 13, 0, 0. Thank
Thank
you.
Thank you.
Madam Chair, I have a request. In the future on proposed policy changes, it would be very helpful if we could have them in advance of the meeting, even if they're just emailed to us.
The teacher resignation 6/2021. Sue Bickford, elementary teacher, retirement 6/2021. There are no appointments. Committee reports.
The Finance Committee met earlier this evening to continue their review of the 21-22 school budget for next year. We still have not received our final Anthem Health Insurance rate for next year, but we're notified that the highest rate is 4.2%. So we'll go back and reduce our projection, which had been 5, we'll take that down to 4.2, but realistically, we should have the final rate by next Tuesday, so when we come back, we'll have to have a special meeting next week. Heads up. We'll have the final rate for Anthem, which will be below 4.2%. And we have a couple of other adjustments that we talked about tonight. The version that we did look at tonight shows a budget that is $30,000 less than the current year budget. And that was accomplished with the removal of 4 ed techs from the operating budget. 2 of those were resignations, and 2 of them are shifting to other federal funding. So again, I just want to reiterate that there are no position layoffs. No one is losing their job in the budget proposal that we have going forward. That adjustment reduced the budget by about $155,000. So that's how we got from the version we looked at 2 weeks ago, which was $125,000 over the current year, down to a budget proposal that is $30,000 less than the current year. We've also asked the administration to go back and given a cap to the negotiations committee so that we will be looking at no more than a 1% increase for positions that are currently under negotiations or not covered by a bargaining agreement. So I will anticipate that the proposed budget that we look at and finalize next week will be lower still, and we'll have that final number from Anthem, which is what we've been waiting for, which will cause a swing. Any questions?
Thank you. And thank you to the Finance Committee, because this budget has been very difficult to get to a zero impact. And thank you to the administration and everyone for all your time and energy into it. Superintendent's report.
If I could just add a few points to previous discussion. Just a reminder that on the 8th, as Jenny, we'll have a special meeting. We'll have that Anthem number finalized by then. So in this gym, we'll have a special board meeting and a regularly scheduled board meeting on the 15th. And it will be important that we have a majority attend because we'll be signing warrants at that meeting. And on May 6th, we are canceling our regular meeting and we'll have our remote budget meeting. And that'll be fully remote. Expect that you are present, but it'll be virtual for the public. And we'll have that open line as we did before. But we've chosen that avenue because we want to be certain that it's free and open for people to fully participate, those who wish. The format changes as far as what's going to show up on the referendum in June, but it was the same process we utilized last year. I also wanted to mention, Daniel will share this in a bit, we're looking at a draft of a school calendar. I met Wednesday morning, I believe, with our area superintendents, that those would be the sending schools to the tech center. So it'll be RSU 18, Waterville, Winslow, and 49. And we're trying to have a closer alignment with a common calendar and line it up with the technical center. Are trying to approach a common start time, and it's usually varied among us by a day or two. So we have a draft of the calendar we've been working on with the starter school being September 1st for grades 1 through 6, 7, 9, preceded by a couple of the teacher prep days and service days. And aligning in place as much as possible with common and service days, because when we're not all in or out of session, it creates situations for those students who attend the tech center, whether their school's in session or not. And it will result in graduation prospectively. It's going to be proposed to you on June 9th right now. And one of the other topics that came up, do we build in emergency days or not? I'm going to recommend that we do, despite what we might perceive that we're able to offer remotely and have the seat days with a closure, emergency closure, say in a snowstorm. But it presents some other challenges, and that would be connectivity, particularly if you have loss of power and you're a teacher and you're not able to connect and offer, or you're not a student able to connect and participate. And also this issue of the nutrition program and subsidying what we're required, what is a seat day, and we're able or not to feed children on those days. So I think those are still pieces to be worked out. Again, that was shared in conversation with the Kennebec Valley Superintendent's meeting, and Dan from the department spoke to that. So we will have that draft to you probably by the 15th. And I also wanted to mention that we have finished one of our projects, was moving our special education office to a place that is ADA compliant and accessible. So the new special education office is on the back side of the adult education building. There was a space back there, a big, very large classroom space that actually was built on, it was called the ATM room, the asynchronous transfer mode room, way back in the day when that was cutting edge technology for essentially remote learning. We have worked with Scott and used some of this federal money to refit that place so it's accessible to staff, to parents, and our director is there with a receptionist and secretary there. So I just wanted you to be aware of that, and it's a positive thing that we're able to do that. And that concludes my report.
Thank you, Roberta. Does anyone have any questions? All right. Under other business, 2021 co-curricular directors, advisors, and coaches. No motion is necessary. Lacrosse, Lawrence High School, girls varsity, Cassandra, the Polai. Okay, thank you. So, is there a motion to go into executive session pursuant 1 MRSA section 405(6)A to discuss contract negotiations? Katrina, is that you? Yes, so moved by Katrina, seconded by Rachel to go into executive session pursuant 1 MRSA section 405(6)A to discuss contract negotiations.